President Joe Biden calls Chinese leader Xi Jinping dictator. Ningxia, 31 died in a severe explosion on Dragon Boat Festival Day. Reaction to Blinken visit, Chinese regime hints the U.S. was not sincere about the Taiwan issue. Russia unconcerned about Antony Blinken's China visit, Kremlin spokesman. Full-time sons and daughters, Chinese young people have become numb.
President Joe Biden called Chinese leader Xi Jinping a dictator on June 20th, sparking an intense backlash from the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, which could potentially undermine his administration's efforts to improve increasingly strained relations. Biden made the remark at a Democratic fundraiser in California, as he discussed his decision in February to order the military to shoot down a Chinese balloon suspected of conducting surveillance of U.S. military sites. He stated that Xi was embarrassed by the incident because his authorities had not informed him beforehand about the presence of the spy balloon. The U.S. eventually shot it down above the Atlantic Ocean after it entered U.S. airspace. Biden said, "The reason why Xi Jinping got very upset, in terms of when I shot that balloon down, with 2 boxcars full of spy equipment in it, is he didn't know it was there." He added, "No, I'm serious. That's what's a great embarrassment for dictators when they didn't know what happened." Biden's remark comes just a day after U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken left Beijing with a joint commitment to ease tensions with the CCP. Biden's remark touches on sensitive CCP issues, as it questions Xi's control over the country and military, undermines his legitimacy and popular support, and casts doubt on the health of China's economy. The CCP Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning condemned Biden's comments, calling them a blatant political provocation. They go totally against facts and seriously violate diplomatic protocol and severely infringe on China's political dignity. Dennis Wilder, a former Deputy Assistant Director for East Asia and the Pacific at the Central Intelligence Agency, noted that Biden's remark, especially following Blinken's visit, would not be received well in Beijing. Wilder emphasized that Biden should know Xi does not take personal slights lightly. This incident is not the first time an unplanned comment by President Biden has complicated the relationship between Washington and Beijing. His remarks on Taiwan have required clarification by his aides on multiple occasions in recent years. On Friday, Xinhua News Agency and other Chinese media outlets reported that a big explosion occurred at a barbecue restaurant in Xinqing District, Yinchuan, Ningxia. 31 people died, and 7 others were injured. Officials said all of the injured were taken to hospital. According to reports, at about 8:40 p.m. on June 21st, a liquefied gas leak occurred in the operating room of Fuyang Barbecue Restaurant on Minzu South Road, Xinqing District, Yinchuan City. Many online videos show flames erupting from a barbecue restaurant, flames rising violently, black smoke rising, and shards of glass strewn across the street. According to people at the scene, the glass cylinder on the first floor of the barbecue restaurant exploded first. Then the natural gas pipeline on the second floor exploded, and the stairs between the floors also exploded. By 9:20 p.m., the fire at the scene was extinguished. At midnight, firemen used a ladder truck to rescue people stuck on the second floor. At about 1:20 a.m. on the 22nd, ambulances were still in and out of the explosion scene. The rescue work ended at 4 a.m. on the 22nd. On the morning of the 22nd, the local Jinfeng County issued a notice requesting that all stores using liquefied petroleum gas temporarily close. Hao, a resident who lives near the scene, told the media that Fuyang Grill is a chain of restaurants. He often goes there for dinner. This restaurant's occupancy rate is 90% during peak times. The restaurant has 2 floors. The first can hold about 20 people. There is a private room on the second floor with many chairs. A witness at the scene said, "I saw a person while passing by. His upper body was blown up, and his clothes were gone, and he was at the door. There should be more than a dozen ambulances, and it is estimated that they have been moving the injured for 2 or 3 hours. He said it was the peak time for eating, and the venue was crowded. He heard 2 big explosions. It was heard 700 or 800 meters away. He said, "We dared not approach, afraid of another explosion." Mainland people were shocked. Netizens left many comments on posted videos. "It's terrible to see this kind of accident during the Dragon Boat Festival. How did it happen? So many families. It's terrible." The explosion happened during the Dragon Boat Festival, or Duanwu Festival in China. According to Eastern medical philosophy, the fire element, belonging to Yang, of heaven and earth and in the human body on Duanwu Day, is at its climax. During his recent visit to China, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said the U.S. would adhere to the One China policy based on the Taiwan Relations Act, the 3 joint communiques, and the 6 assurances. Blinken also reaffirmed the long-standing U.S. position toward Taiwan, that the U.S. does not support Taiwan's independence, opposes any unilateral change to the status quo across the Taiwan Strait, and looks forward to a peaceful resolution for the differences between Beijing and Taiwan. Taiwan News reported that on June 21st, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the People's Republic of China said on June 19th, the Chinese Foreign Ministry official Yang Tao said that the U.S.'s amendments to the Taiwan Relations Act and the 6 assurances contradicts its recognition of One China policy. Tao added that the Taiwan Relations Act and the 6 assurances were unilaterally implemented by the U.S., and the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, strongly opposes them. Tao also said that the U.S. sought to show that the peaceful resolution of the Taiwan issue was at the core of the One China policy. He argued, "This does not agree and uphold the U.S.'s political commitment to China, but misrepresents it." Since 1972, the U.S. has agreed with the CCP that only one China exists. That means the U.S. recognizes Taiwan as part of China. But in 1979, the U.S. passed the Taiwan Relations Act, authorizing the supply of weapons to Taiwan and affirming that the future of Taiwan will be determined by peaceful means. In 1982, the U.S. declared 6 assurances to Taiwan, including guaranteeing that the U.S. would continue selling arms to Taiwan and not amend the Taiwan Relations Act. Russia has said the recent visit by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken to Beijing would not pose much concern for its ties with China. The high-stakes visit was expected to reduce tensions between Washington and Beijing, which have escalated since the spy balloon saga. As Reuters reported, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on June 20th that Russia wouldn't be concerned about what Blinken may have discussed with China. Peskov said, "Our strategic partnership relationship with China makes us confident that Beijing's development of relations with other countries will never be aimed against our country." Blinken has urged the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, to refrain from supplying Russia with technology it could use in the Ukraine war. He said on June 19th that China has agreed to refrain from following up with the intention. He said, "With regard to legal aid to Russia for use in Ukraine, we and other countries have received assurances from China that it is not and will not provide lethal assistance to Russia for use in Ukraine." But the Secretary of State also said there are ongoing concerns that Chinese companies will try to send Russia the technology it could use to advance its aggression in Ukraine. Yet just a day after Blinken wrapped up the trip that was supposed to reduce tensions, Washington and Beijing are at odds again, this time because of remarks from President Joe Biden. He reportedly called Chinese leader Xi Jinping a dictator during an address at a fundraiser in California on June 20th. Reuters reported that it prompted an immediate backlash from China, with Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning calling the comments an open political provocation. Peskov on June 21st responded to the remarks as incomprehensible. He said, "However, that's their business. We've our own bad relations with the United States of America, and our very good relations with the People's Republic of China." Yu Yu, a 25-year-old Shanxi girl, works in a foreign company in Shanghai. The frequent overtime work over the years had gradually become too much for her, so she resigned and returned to her hometown. She tried to find a job again, but couldn't, so her father, a retired teacher, advised her to become a full-time daughter and at the same time make a good plan for the next period of her life. After becoming a full-time daughter, Yu wakes up at 6 o'clock every day to cook breakfast for her parents, go shopping, clean up, and wash the dishes. She said, being a full-time son or daughter is not easy, but there is not much mental pressure. Compared to her previous work at home is too simple. She said, I feel pretty happy at home. If my parents are willing, I can live like this forever. It is reported that her full-time salary at home is 4,000 yuan, or $557 per month. On social platforms, many young people have recorded their daily lives as full-time children. The young people's lifestyle has sparked heated discussions online. Some netizens commented, "How can I live without parents? Honestly, it's hard to find a job." Behind the full-time children is China's high youth unemployment rate. Official statistics show that in May, the unemployment rate for young people aged 16 to 24 hit a record high of 20.8%. Zhuo Xian, a researcher at the Development Research Center of the State Council of China, estimated that the unemployment rate of college students is 1.4 times that of overall youth unemployment rate, making them the main group of unemployed youth. According to reports, a record 11.58 million students will graduate from higher education institutions in China this year, an increase of 7.6% compared to last year. In 2020, the Ministry of Education announced an increase of nearly 190,000 postgraduate enrollment places, an expansion rate much higher than the previous ratio. And this group of students will also graduate this year and enter the job market. Lu Xi, an assistant professor at the Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy at the National University of Singapore, said, full-time children are an inevitable phenomenon under the tide of social unemployment, which reflects the serious decline and shrinking of the entire social economy. Xie Tian, a professor at the Aiken School of Business at the University of South Carolina in USA, said, this situation can continue for at least 1 or 2 years, because we don't see any incentive for the economy to grow. The point is that people don't see hope. However, not every young person is able to be a full-time child, depending on the parents' income. Some deeply depressed youth who cannot rely on their parents choose to commit suicide. On June 19th, 3 young men committed suicide by burning coal in a rental house in Luoxi village. They were just 29, 36, and 38 years old. Before that, there were many cases of young people committing suicide together.